Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today is Friday, so that means it's what I've read this week and what I'm looking at reading next week. As usual, I've also got something a little bit extra to talk about, but we'll come to that at the end. So, I read just 2 books this week, but they were both quite big books, and so let's get talking about those. The first book I read this week was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. This book came on my radar after watching Jenny King's channel. You should definitely check her out. She's a great booktuber. I know I've mentioned it before, but she is. Her booktube channel is Jenny King, and that's Jenny Jenni and King, and she mentioned it in a review, and I just thought, oh, this sounds like a really good book, right up my street, something a little bit different from all the fantasy that I'd been reading. And so I asked one of my friends if she fancied reading it too and we could talk about it, and so she did, and I really enjoyed this book. The book is set in Sydney, and it is based in a seaside town, and the very beginning, all we hear is that there's been an incident at the local kindergarten. We then go back in time to a few months before, and we meet a lot of the characters, the kindergarten mums and dads, and also the children, and we learn about the build up to this one incident. We don't actually know what the incident is until the very end, but we learn the build up to what happens for that. We are constantly second guessing ourselves and guessing who we think's done what, and I loved that about it, all the mystery. That was really good. Also, what I really liked was at the end of each chapter there was it was written as if there was sort of a police investigation or interviews going on with the police, so that sort of made us think, oh, you know, who is it and who's saying what, and that again intrigued us to try and find out what had happened and who we thought had done what. For me, I think I really enjoyed this book because it centres around children that are about my daughter's age, a bit older, and I thought Liane captured their personalities and the way that they are at this age perfectly. I thought her writing of that was really good, and I could see some of my daughter Matilda in a couple of the characters, which I thought was quite funny. So I definitely found that quite personable to me, and I really enjoyed that part of the story and that sort of overarching theme. Overall, I really enjoyed the story. It kept you guessing to the end. I gave it 4 stars. There just wasn't that little woof for 5 stars, although the ending was quite a surprise. You know, I had in my head maybe that was what was going to happen. So although I enjoyed it, I just didn't feel like I could quite give it 5 stars. So it was 4 stars from me, but I really enjoyed it. And I definitely recommend if you fancy a sort of adult contemporary with a bit of a mystery edge, kind of light but not. There's some really adult themes in there. I can't say what they are because I don't want to spoil the story, but you know, it's an adult fiction book, so there are certain elements in there that are adult content. Anyway, the second book I read this week, I'm really pleased that I've read, and that is A Dance with Dragons Part 1, Dreams and Dust by George R.R. Martin. I've been wanting to get to this for ages. I didn't do it last month. I had been reading 1 book a month over the last few months, but last month I just didn't get around to this one. So I'm reading this one this month, and then the last one that's out at the moment next month. This book just continues the series in The Song of Ice and Fire. I can't tell you what happens in this because it would be a big spoiler, but unfortunately I enjoyed this book least, I would say, of the series so far. I found it quite slow. I felt like the book was all about the characters that were in it going on journeys of some sort, you know, to get somewhere where possibly the action will happen when they get there. So it was a lot of character building and a lot of sort of back plot building, and really I just want the action part of it, or a little bit less of the building and more of the action. So I thought this book was quite long. It was a bit of a slog to get through, but I wanted to because I wanted to obviously find out what happened to all of the characters. I do find at the end of each of the characters sort of parts, because if you didn't know, the books are split into different characters sections, you know, so one chapter might be one character and then the next chapter is another character, and so on, and then, you know, you see the characters multiple times throughout the book. But at the end of each of their sort of sections, as you go through, that tends to be like a bit of a cliffhanger ready for the sort of next section for them. And that was quite good, and that pulled me through a little bit, but it was a bit of a slog. I managed, luckily, to have one day where I could just sort of read the majority of the day, and I managed to get through quite a bit of it, because it is, you know, it's easy to read. It's just there wasn't much going on in this one. So unfortunately I only gave this one 3 stars. What I'm currently reading at the moment on my Kindle is Talented by Sophie Davis. This is part 1 in a Talented series, I believe, or saga. I'm not sure where I heard about this, but I did hear about it on BookTube quite a long time ago. It's a bit of a paranormal, I think it's a YA. I'm quite enjoying it so far. It's quite easy reading. We'll see how we get on with it, and I'll let you know next week, but I'm sort of a few pages into that. And then the other books that I'll be picking from next week are the last ones on my TBR actually, and then it'll be a free-for-all. So the choices are, I've got my last Kindle pick, because Talented was my first from my Kindle TBR jar, and I've got Abundance of Catherines by John Green to read at some point. I've got the Percy Jackson book to read, The Titan's Curse. I've got The Summer Tree by Guy Gavriel Kay to pick up at some point. This doesn't have to be this month, that one's a seasonal read. That's run by Steakachino's channel. She's got done a seasonal reading group on Goodreads, so if you fancy joining us for that series, you should definitely check out her videos on that. I've got the first Agatha Christie that I want to read, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, which is Poirot's first case. I've got The Undertaker's Daughter by Kate Mayfield, which is a non-fiction story. I've already read my non-fiction pick for this month, which was Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi, but if I fancy another non-fiction, I might pick up The Undertaker's Daughter. And then last of all, one that I've been putting off, maybe because I'm so excited, but it is the last of the sort of books that I've been excited to read in a series, and that is Gathering Darkness by Morgan Rhodes, which I'm probably going to pick up next week, I think, because I'm not sure I can hold off much longer. So there's a few in there for me to pick from for next week's books. I always like to have extra so that I can at least have some sort of choice. Right, now the final thing I want to talk about in this video is I've been inspired by Tanya at The List Obsessed Reader. She's just got lots of TBR jars, and they're really beautiful, and she's just uploaded a video in the last couple of weeks showing how she makes her TBR jars, and I kind of felt like I wanted to do more. I've got my Kindle TBR jar, and I thought, well, I could do a TBR jar for my book credits. So I could do a book credits jar when I filled up my sheet with 5 books and I'm not doing Kindle books because I want to get rid of the physical books, so 5 physical books that I own off my TBR shelf. Once I've written 5 down, I can get a little credit, and maybe I'll put that in a jar, and then when it comes time for me to go on a book shopping spree, I can take them out and see how many I can get. So I picked up this jar from a cheap shop, and again stole some of my daughter's stickers, and I've put book credits on it, and it's all sparkly. So you can see I've only got 1 so far, and all I've done is written 1 book credit on it and then rolled it up to make it look a bit pretty. Also, as you know, I've got certain things that I'm looking at doing as my 2015 challenges this year. So every month I want to try and read a diverse book. So I've done a diverse jar that says diverse in sparkly letters, and I've written all my diverse books that I own on here so that I can pick them out from there every month. I've also done the same for my non-fiction. I'm trying to read non-fiction either every month or every other month. So I'll probably pick one from here every month, and then if I don't read it, then I'll make sure I read it the next month. And finally, because I have been thinking about February already and what I'm going to read as my BookTuber recommends book for February. I've got them all sort of ready to go, but I do find that I tend not to go straight for the big ones, and that's a shame because I'm probably going to enjoy them just as much as the others. So I wanted to make it a bit more random, so every month I'm going to pick my BookTube recommend one. I just wrote BookTube on here, so that's all my BookTuber recommends books. So I really like these. They sit nicely together, and they were so like pennies for the jars, so I'm really pleased. So thank you, Tanya, for inspiration for making more jars. And so when it comes to February TBR time, you'll see me pulling out the books from there. Anyway, I've chatted and waffled for far too long. What have you been reading this week? What have you enjoyed? Have you read any of the books I've talked about? Have you enjoyed them? What were your thoughts? Let's chat and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.